If you're over 60, I really encourage you to listen closely. There's one everyday fruit, something you've probably enjoyed your whole life, that could quietly be increasing your risk of a stroke while you sleep. No symptoms. No warning signs. You go to bed feeling perfectly fine, and wake up unable to speak, stand, or move one side of your body. It's frightening, and as a neurologist, I've seen it happen far too often. And no, I'm not talking about fast food, smoking, or soda. I'm talking about fruit. That's right, something that seems so natural and healthy can become a hidden risk as we age. Why? Because after 60, your body processes things differently. Your kidneys, liver, blood vessels, and even your brain become more sensitive to sugar, potassium, and acids, especially overnight. Add in common factors like slower circulation, certain medications, and dehydration while you sleep, and suddenly that innocent piece of fruit can do more harm than good. That's why today, I want to walk you through 6 common fruits that might be working against your brain and heart health, especially if eaten at the wrong time or in the wrong combinations. And if you care about protecting your brain, your heart, and your long-term energy levels, be sure to subscribe here on Senior Body Boost. Also, leave a yes in the comments if this topic speaks to you. I'd love to know how many of you have been wondering about this already. Let's kick things off with one of the most popular fruits out there. It's simple, delicious, but potentially dangerous if you're over 60. Let's talk about bananas. Yes, bananas. Those soft, sweet, comforting fruits most of us have loved since childhood. They're easy on the stomach, packed with nutrients like vitamin B6 and fiber, and they feel like a safe, healthy snack. But after age 60, bananas, especially the overripe ones, may not be as harmless as they seem. Here's why. As bananas ripen, their starches naturally convert into simple sugars. That's what makes a ripe banana taste sweeter. But while your taste buds may enjoy the change, your body might not, particularly if you're older. An overripe banana has a high glycemic index, meaning it can cause your blood sugar to spike quickly. And that's a serious concern after 60. As we age, several important systems slow down. Kidney function declines, insulin sensitivity drops, and our blood vessels lose flexibility. All of this makes it harder for the body to manage blood sugar, blood pressure, and potassium levels efficiently. So when you eat that mushy, spotted banana, especially on an empty stomach, it can cause a rapid rise in blood sugar, strain your cardiovascular system, and even affect your heart rhythm due to the high potassium load. Let me share a real-world example. Margaret, a 76-year-old retired librarian from Illinois, loved starting her day with a smoothie made from 1 or 2 overripe bananas. She truly believed she was making a heart-healthy choice. But one morning, after a night of poor hydration, she woke up feeling dizzy, and when she tried to speak, her words were slurred. She was rushed to the hospital, where doctors confirmed she had experienced a mild stroke, triggered in part by a sudden spike in blood pressure and blood sugar. Now, does that mean bananas are bad for everyone? Not at all. But the timing, ripeness, and context matter, especially in your 60s and beyond. Her husband acted quickly and rushed her to the emergency room. Doctors diagnosed Margaret with a mild ischemic stroke, a condition where blood flow to part of the brain is blocked, often by a clot. Her blood pressure had spiked during the night, and her potassium levels were unusually high. While bananas weren't the sole cause, doctors explained that the combination of natural sugars, elevated potassium, and morning dehydration had created a perfect storm. All of these are manageable individually, but together, especially in someone over 60, they can tip the balance toward danger. Margaret didn't need a complete diet overhaul. She made one small but powerful change. She switched to eating smaller, slightly green bananas, which have less sugar and a lower glycemic index. She also made sure to drink water first and pair her banana with a bit of protein, like a boiled egg or a spoonful of peanut butter. The result? Her energy improved, and her blood pressure stabilized within weeks. So what's the takeaway? Bananas aren't the enemy. But overripe bananas, especially in large quantities or eaten alone on an empty stomach, can silently raise the risk of a stroke in older adults. And here's the important part, bananas aren't the only fruit with this kind of hidden danger. Next up, grapes. They seem so harmless, don't they? Tiny, sweet, juicy, perfect in a salad, a snack with the grandkids, or a side at lunch. But for someone over 60, grapes may not be as innocent as they look. Why? Because grapes are essentially tiny sugar bombs. Even the seedless, store-bought varieties, especially those labeled extra sweet or cotton candy grapes, are loaded with natural sugars like glucose and fructose. In fact, just 1 cup of grapes contains about 23 grams of sugar, roughly the same as a standard chocolate bar. And when you eat them by the handful, especially on an empty stomach, that sugar rushes straight into your bloodstream, fast. For aging bodies, which don't regulate blood sugar or insulin as effectively, that's a real concern. As we age, something subtle but important happens: our insulin response slows down, and our blood vessels become more fragile. That means a quick sugar spike, like the one caused by eating a handful of grapes, doesn't just give you a brief energy boost. It puts real stress on your heart and brain, often without any obvious symptoms. Inside those delicate vessels, sugar triggers low-level inflammation, tiny amounts of swelling and microscopic damage. Your body tries to repair this damage by forming small clots. On their own, they're harmless. But over time, if this happens daily, the risk builds silently. Then one morning, without warning, you might find yourself unable to balance, or struggling to speak. That's exactly what happened to Mrs. Evelyn Morris, a 79-year-old retired music teacher from Colorado. Evelyn was sharp, independent, and active. Every mid-morning, she'd sit by the window with her favorite book and a bowl of red grapes. Some days, she'd eat 2 cups without thinking twice. Then one day, while writing a birthday card to her grandson, her hand started to tremble. Minutes later, she couldn't remember how to spell "congratulations." Her daughter took her straight to the ER, where doctors diagnosed her with a transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke. Her blood sugar had spiked sharply. Lab tests showed signs of chronic, low-grade inflammation and prediabetes she never knew she had. She was shocked. She thought she was doing everything right. But even healthy foods, like fruit, can quietly become harmful if eaten the wrong way. Here's what I tell my patients now. Never eat grapes on an empty stomach. Avoid eating large bowls of them at once. Always pair grapes with healthy fats or protein, like a handful of almonds or a slice of cheese. This slows down sugar absorption. And don't eat grapes late at night. Your body needs steady blood flow while you sleep, not sugar spikes and crashes. And if you're diabetic or taking blood pressure medication, please speak to your doctor before making grapes a regular part of your diet. Even small things can carry big risks when you're not watching for them. Now, if grapes surprised you, just wait until we talk about pineapple. That sweet tropical bite you love after dinner? It might be quietly interfering with your brain health, especially overnight. Here's why. Pineapple contains a natural enzyme called bromelain. In small amounts, bromelain can actually help with digestion by breaking down protein. But in larger amounts, or when combined with blood thinners or medications that affect clotting, bromelain can cause your blood to become too thin. And that's where the real danger lies. Thin blood doesn't clot properly. For older adults, especially those on medications, this can open the door to hemorrhagic strokes or brain bleeds. These are often more severe and harder to recover from than clot-based strokes. But bromelain isn't the only concern. Pineapple is also very high in sugar, with a glycemic index around 59 to 66. That means it can cause a sharp rise in blood sugar, especially when eaten on an empty stomach or at night. So while pineapple may seem like a healthy dessert, for older adults with circulation issues or on certain medications, it can quietly create the perfect storm for a stroke risk, just like grapes or overripe bananas. Eating pineapple after dinner might feel like a light, healthy dessert, but for older adults, it can quietly cause more harm than good. Here's why. In the evening, your metabolism naturally slows down. You're not moving much, not burning energy, and that means the sugar from pineapple just sits in your bloodstream, circulating and placing extra stress on your blood vessels, right when your body is trying to rest and repair. And that's only part of the story. Pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits you can buy. While that tangy flavor might taste refreshing, it can silently trigger acid reflux, especially at night. And here's the tricky part, in many older adults, reflux doesn't always feel like heartburn. Instead, it can sneak up without symptoms and cause small amounts of stomach acid to reach your airway while you sleep. This acid exposure can reduce oxygen delivery to your brain, a form of low-level stress that's been linked to early morning strokes, the most dangerous kind. Let me tell you about Mrs. Clara Hughes, a 77-year-old retired choir director from North Carolina. She avoided desserts and processed sweets, opting instead for fresh pineapple slices after dinner each night. It felt like the perfect healthy choice. But one morning, Clara woke up dizzy and unable to walk straight. Her daughter noticed her speech was slightly slurred. At the hospital, scans confirmed a posterior stroke, a type that affects balance, memory, and coordination. Her labs told the rest of the story: elevated blood sugar, abnormal platelet levels, and signs of overnight oxygen drops caused by reflux. It wasn't just one thing, it was the combination of sugar, acid, and bromelain, all from the fruit she trusted most. So what's the safer choice? Enjoy pineapple earlier in the day, when your body is more active. Keep portions small, and never eat it on an empty stomach. Avoid pineapple if you're on blood thinners or medications that affect clotting, unless your doctor approves. And most importantly, don't eat pineapple before bed. Your brain needs steady oxygen and stable blood flow, not surprises. Even healthy foods can become silent risks, especially overnight. And if you thought pineapple was risky, wait until we talk about watermelon. Yes, watermelon. The summertime favorite. It's juicy, light, and over 90% water. Most people think it's the ultimate way to stay hydrated, especially on a hot day. But here's something most people don't know: watermelon acts as a natural diuretic. That means it encourages your body to produce more urine. On its own, that might sound harmless. But for many seniors, especially those taking water pills or blood pressure medications that already flush fluids from the body, this can lead to overnight dehydration. If you eat a big bowl of watermelon in the evening, particularly after taking your meds, your body might lose more water than it should, without you even noticing. And this becomes a problem while you sleep. Because when you're dehydrated, your blood thickens. It flows more slowly, like syrup, which increases the chance of clots forming, especially in narrow or stiffened arteries. And that's a major stroke risk. Now, combine that overnight dehydration from watermelon with the natural drop in blood pressure that happens while you sleep, and you've got a recipe for what doctors call a silent stroke. Let me share the story of Mr. Howard Lynn, 82, a retired postal worker from Indiana. He did everything right, walked daily, avoided processed sugar, and made an effort to stay healthy. One of his habits? After dinner, he'd cool down with 2 or 3 large slices of watermelon, thinking it was helping him stay hydrated. But one morning, Howard woke up dizzy. When he tried to stand, he collapsed. At the emergency room, doctors found that his blood pressure was dangerously low, and his blood work showed signs of dehydration and thickened blood. A scan confirmed a small ischemic stroke, likely caused by a clot that formed during the night, when his blood flow had slowed and his body had become too dry. Howard had no idea that the watermelon, something he saw as healthy and hydrating, was actually drawing water out of his system. And when combined with his diuretic medication, it tipped the balance just enough to trigger a stroke. So what's the takeaway? Enjoy watermelon earlier in the day, preferably when your body is active. Eat it in moderation, not by the bowl. If you're on water pills or blood pressure medications, check with your doctor before making watermelon a daily habit. And to stay better hydrated, pair watermelon with a pinch of salt or a sip of coconut water. Both help your body retain fluid. Most importantly, avoid eating watermelon at night. And if you notice signs like dry mouth, morning dizziness, or feeling off balance when you wake up, don't brush them off. These could be subtle warnings from your body that something's out of sync. Now, watermelon might be a surprising addition to this list. But what about oranges? Oranges have long been praised for vitamin C, immune support, and heart health. A glass of orange juice at breakfast, a sliced orange in your lunch, maybe even tucked into a holiday stocking from your grandkids, it's a comforting classic. But here's what many older adults were never told: oranges, and especially orange juice, can quietly interfere with your medications. And it's not just the sugar, though yes, 1 glass of orange juice can contain over 20 grams of sugar, which spikes blood sugar quickly. The bigger issue is a natural compound found in citrus fruits like oranges, grapefruits, and Seville oranges. It's called furanocoumarin. That's a mouthful, I know. But here's what it does. Furanocoumarin interferes with liver enzymes, specifically the ones responsible for breaking down and processing many common medications. When that process is blocked, your body may absorb too much of a drug, causing toxicity, or not enough, making the medication less effective. That means a blood pressure medication you've taken for years could suddenly become too strong, dropping your pressure dangerously low. Or your cholesterol medication, like a statin, could build up in your system and start causing muscle inflammation or even brain fog. And if you're taking blood thinners, citrus could interfere with how well they work, leaving your blood either too thin or too prone to clot, without any warning. This isn't just theory. I've seen it happen firsthand. Take Mr. Elbert Bryant, a 79-year-old retired bus driver from Georgia. Every morning, Elbert had a ritual he loved, a hearty breakfast with a tall glass of fresh squeezed orange juice, which he took alongside his heart and cholesterol medications. He called it his sunshine in a glass. But slowly, things started to feel off. He felt dizzy when standing up, lightheaded in the mornings, and occasionally had moments of confusion. Then one day, he collapsed while getting out of his recliner. At the hospital, doctors discovered he'd had a minor ischemic stroke. His blood work revealed dangerously elevated levels of medication in his system. But here's the twist, his prescription doses hadn't changed. What had changed was his daily orange juice habit. The citrus compounds had slowed his liver's ability to process his medications. Over time, his system quietly overloaded. So what's the lesson here? Here's what I now recommend to my older patients. Avoid orange juice or limit it sharply, especially if you take medications like statins, calcium channel blockers, or blood thinners. Never take your pills with citrus juice, unless your doctor has specifically approved it. If you enjoy citrus flavor, try a splash of lemon or lime in water. These tend to have fewer interactions. And always ask your doctor or pharmacist about possible interactions with fruit and juice. Because at this stage of life, even something as bright and cheerful as an orange can quietly tip the balance inside your body. And if that has you rethinking your morning routine, wait until we talk about mangoes. Mangoes, soft, juicy, and naturally sweet. They feel like a tropical treat, a reward in fruit form. But if you're over 60, especially if you're taking medications for blood pressure, heart rhythm, or cholesterol, mango might be doing more harm than good. Here's why. Mango is one of the highest sugar fruits you'll find at the grocery store. Just 1 cup of ripe mango contains nearly 45 grams of natural sugar. That's more than what you'd get in a glazed donut. And remember, natural sugar is still sugar. For older adults with slower insulin response and reduced liver function, that sugar hits the bloodstream fast, and your body struggles to handle it. Now, think about what that much sugar does to an aging body. As we grow older, our insulin response slows, and our blood vessels become more fragile. When you flood your system with a fast sugar spike, like the one from ripe or dried mango, it causes inflammation inside your arteries, especially those that supply your brain. That inflammation can create tiny cracks in the vessel walls. And what does your body do when it senses a crack? It tries to patch it with a blood clot. In a younger, healthy body, that clot might dissolve safely. But in someone over 60 with narrowed arteries, that same clot can block blood flow to the brain, leading to a stroke. And the danger doesn't stop with the sugar. Mango contains a compound called mangiferin. It sounds harmless, but it can interfere with your liver's ability to process certain medications, especially those broken down by the cytochrome P450 enzyme system. That includes many common prescriptions for heart rhythm, cholesterol, and blood pressure. When this system is disrupted, your body can't clear the medications efficiently. The drug levels build up silently, and then suddenly, your blood pressure crashes, your heart rhythm shifts, or worse, you suffer a stroke without warning. Let me share the story of Mr. William Booker, 83, a retired firefighter from Nevada. Wanting to eat cleaner, he swapped out cookies for dried mango slices each afternoon. It seemed like a smart, healthy choice. But William was also on medication for atrial fibrillation and high blood pressure. Within a few weeks, he began waking up lightheaded. One morning, he collapsed while getting out of bed. His wife noticed the left side of his face looked droopy. At the hospital, doctors diagnosed a mild ischemic stroke. Blood tests showed abnormally high medication levels, even though he hadn't changed his doses. The cause? Daily mango. His liver wasn't processing the medication efficiently because of mangiferin, and it tipped the balance. So here's my advice. If you enjoy mango, eat only a few bites, and only earlier in the day. Avoid dried mango, especially before bed, it's highly concentrated. Always pair mango with protein or fat, like nuts or cheese, to slow down sugar absorption. And if you're taking prescriptions for heart rhythm, blood pressure, or cholesterol, ask your doctor before making mango a regular part of your diet. Now that we've covered these 6 surprising fruits, bananas, grapes, pineapple, watermelon, oranges, and mangoes, you might be feeling a bit unsure about what's truly safe. And that's okay. Because recognizing the risks is the first step toward protecting your brain and heart for the long run. As we age, even healthy habits deserve a second look. Foods that once helped us can quietly work against us, especially when combined with medications or eaten at the wrong time of day. But this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. You don't have to give up fruit, you just have to eat it wisely. Smaller portions. Earlier in the day. Paired with protein or healthy fat. And always, with your doctor's guidance. Because your brain, your heart, and your independence are worth protecting. If this video helped you rethink your choices, please like this video, subscribe to Health 365, and leave a comment below with the word aware to let us know you're taking action. And remember, you've made it this far in life with strength, wisdom, and resilience. Now is the time to eat, not just for today's comfort, but for tomorrow's clarity.